Hey folks, it's been a big week in our chicken coop, one that happens only about every 2 years, and that is that we moved our new smaller pullets into the coop with the big laying hens. And I wanted to take a little bit of time to discuss how we go about introducing the smaller pullets to the bigger hens and how that works out. So let's get to it. I want to start with a little bit of background here. We buy chicks as like day-old hatches, and we raise them that way in a brooder, and I didn't do a very good job of documenting that. Really didn't document it at all, other than I have a few videos, and you're seeing them here of them when they were little and in the brooder. I was going to do a video about making the brooder and everything. I just didn't have time to put that together. So now they're at the stage that we wanted to move them into the regular coop with the hens, and as anybody who's ever done this knows, that can be a problem because the big hens, they're a little territorial, a little dominant, and the new pullets that you're putting in there can kind of take a beating, especially from the more dominant hens, and we do our best to prevent that. So this is the method that we do to introduce them in a safe environment for them. And so that's the angle that I'm coming from here. Our coop is kind of in two sections. It's just the way we built it. We initially built a coop that was 8 feet by 8 feet and then 6 feet high. And then about a year later, when we decided we wanted more chickens due to chicken math, if you know what that is, we extended another 8 feet out, an 8 foot by 6 foot area. So there's kind of an 8 foot by 8 foot area and an 8 foot by 6 foot area that are put together to make a big coop. When we introduce pullets, what we do is we divide those two pieces off again into an 8 foot by 8 foot and an 8 foot by 6 foot coop, two different coops. This time we did this just simply by hanging chicken wire to divide it into two pieces, and the pullets will live in the 8 by 6 foot part of the coop, and then the laying hens will be in the 8 foot by 8 foot part of the coop, just with some chicken wire dividing them. We find this works good because then they kind of introduce themselves to each other, but there's that barrier that protects the pullets from the hens from any bullying that might happen. So the first thing we do before we hang the chicken wire is we had to figure out, of course we have the house, like the laying house and the house they go into at night for the hens. Well, if we're going to put pullets in the other part of that and block it off, we needed a second house. And if you follow my channel, you know we're all about doing things on a budget. So I actually found a free dog house and thought this would be perfect. So we put a dog house in there, added a little perch in there, and that's going to be the pullets house, at least for the little while until we open it up and they can join the big hens. And then the doghouse is gone. After that, we simply just got busy hanging chicken wire between the two halves of the coop that we were dividing. We like this method because it gives our pullets a chance to kind of learn how to live outside, coming out of their heated environment and going into this one, which is just whatever the weather brings. It's been super rainy around here, so that's new to them. And so they have the cover and they have the shelter, but they have the outside, and they kind of learn how to do that without having to worry about kind of self-defense from the bigger hens. And then that barrier provides a great way for the hens and the pullets to get to know each other. They spend a lot of time at that barrier, kind of checking each other out, sizing each other up a little bit. But there's no picking on. You just can't do that through that barrier. When we put the pullets in there with the barrier, we can tell that I mean, you can just feel the tension. Our black star, for example, which is usually probably our quietest hen, she was right up at that fence looking at those pullets, making a lot of noise. And she's the top of the pecking order, and we just thought that's kind of confirmation that we like that barrier there a little bit. Now, as far as actually getting them in the same kind of space together, the way we do that is our chickens mostly throughout the day will free range through our yard, and we let the hens out. The pullets right now are mostly staying in the coop. We keep them separated just because we like to be out here the first little bit of time that they're in the yard, just to make sure that they're all right. But as we let them out and it's kind of supervised, they get to know each other in the yard, which is a much larger space for them to get to know each other. And once they're kind of comfortable with each other in the yard, we eventually take that barrier down and they kind of integrate, and it's really pretty seamless. I mean, there's a little bit of obviously figuring out the pecking order, but it works pretty seamlessly. We don't have a problem with our pullets just getting pecked to death, literally or metaphorically, by the bigger hens this way. They're just kind of used to these littler chickens being around, being in the yard and all that, and we just slowly bring in new things. You know, it's slowly, here they are in a half of the coop you can't get to, here they are sharing the yard, the huge yard with you, and then eventually here they are just sharing the same house, the same space, the same roosts and everything, and it works really well for us. So that's a method that we use. It's an idea that you can use, but by all means, if you got something that works, if you have a better method or just a different method, then I'd love to hear about it in the comment section. Comment down below or link to your video or whatever. If you found this helpful at all, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.